National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Welcome to the National News broadcast, brought to you live from the National News Studios here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. I am Dishan Veerakon together with Kasuni Balachandran. The World Bank, ADB and several other institutions agree to provide emergency financial assistance to Sri Lanka. A special plan will be implemented to streamline the distribution of fuel. The Health Minister says solutions will be found for the medicinal drugs shortage within 90 days. The government pays attention to provide a fuel subsidy to the fisheries community. The IGP summoned before the Human Rights Commission in connection with the Rambukkana incident. The subject minister is prepared to brief the clergy, including the Cardinal, about the Easter Sunday attack investigations. Former Minister Dallas Ala Peruma writes to the President. The US provides $800 million of military aid to Ukraine.
We move on to those and other stories in detail. Finance Minister Ali Sabri says the World Bank, ADB and several other institutions agreed to provide emergency financial assistance to Sri Lanka.
He mentioned this over a Zoom press briefing today from Washington, D.C. However, he said that negotiations with the IMF will take some time depending on the restructuring plan.
You mentioned all the lines of credit that are coming through and the plan for the short and the medium term. How do you differentiate this against the rapid financing instrument that you made mention of? Are we getting a specific financial instrument from the IMF, or is the debt restructuring that what India is doing on our behalf? Is that what you're going to consider the rapid financing instrument? How do you differentiate between the two? What is the answer there?
Yeah, that's a very important and good question. We have three strategies immediately to get emergency funding. Second is to get some bridge financing. Thirdly, go back to the growth trajectory. That's the plan. So emergency funding, as I told earlier, there are few fold. India is one of them. So we are also talking to China and Japan. We are also talking to World Bank and ADB. And RFI is a special instrument that is from IMF. We have not come here to ask for an RFI specifically. We came here to get into a program called EFF. But in the meantime, we also mentioned the RFI. But as you know, probably you are well informed, you know, any release of funds from IMF is preconditioned to the fact that debt need to be sustainable. So in order to do that, we need to talk to the creditors, convince them they are serious in repaying and getting into some sort of an agreement. So we are working overtime. Talk to the creditors, try to get into a debt agreement. In the meantime, staff level consultations in terms of fiscal reforms, in terms of institutional reforms, in terms of tax reforms. So when all these things go somewhere down the line, we should get some sort of support. But as of now, immediately, you know, no IMF will not release an RFI overnight. It takes time and it all depends on the progress. So hopefully we will see some sort of a progress somewhere down the line. It all depends on how quickly or efficiently we are going to negotiate with our creditors, get into a debt restructuring program, how serious we are on tax reforms and the other reforms. Because right now we get just 8.6% of our GDP as revenue in order to run a country. No country can be run with 8.6% of revenue. So you need to go there to 13 to 14%. Otherwise, the inevitable fall is there. So it's important, as we have taken over, both myself, the governor, and the state, being very honest with anyone whom we are talking to, whether it's the public, whether it's the IMF, whether it's the bilateral partners. So honesty is the best policy, and truth and absolute truth. So RFI may not come immediately. But RFI, we were not totally anyway dependent on the IMF. But we have been talking to World Bank. Response has been very good. ADB response has been good. India had been extremely forthcoming. I'm sure China and Japan also will help us. And we have other few options, which everything I can't divulge. We understand as much as you that right now what is important is to look after our people and restore their supply lines. And they don't deserve the kind of hardship they undergo. We all understand. It's heartbreaking for us to say that. And we have come here to find a solution to that. And again, I must apologize that we have to put them through these hardships. It's not only our problem. This has been an accumulation of the problems of the policies what successive governments in this country have done.
The Chinese have announced that they will provide emergency humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka. The envoy in Sri Lanka has visited and they've met with the foreign minister, and also the Chinese premier have had a phone call with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa as well. So what sort of financial aid do you expect from the People's Republic of China? And have there been any progress on negotiating the debt restructuring with the Chinese government, with the Chinese?
Yeah. I think you have almost 3 questions on that. Number 1 is what they have announced has already been announced in terms up to about 2 million Chinese currency kind of a support, 200 million. So that will come immediately and rapidly. And number 2 is we are also negotiating with them some sort of a cash infusion and a further facility that is in serious stages. Hopefully that will work out. Thirdly, no, we haven't in detail started talking to them as far as the debt restructuring is concerned. One good thing is yesterday they agreed with Zambia along with all the others for them also to consider as a group and discuss. So what is important as far as debt restructuring is concerned, a lot of people are asking is there has to be transparency, uniformity, and no preferential treatment. So we need to talk to all of them, and I'm sure they will understand. Particularly, we should not be too pessimistic and give hopelessness to the public, because if that is the case, India is not going to put so much of money. India is investing $1 billion on emergency, the food and other medical items, and another 2 to 2.5 billion worth of deferment of SU payment. So that means more than our people, they must be confident that Sri Lanka will pull through. And I'm also confident. Of course, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But if you work hard, if you be realistic, if you learn lessons from what India went through in early 90s, and South Korea went through, and what Thailand went through, Malaysia went through, I'm very confident. Even though it's going to be a painful few years, we can come back and come back strongly by getting proper structural reforms which is required for us to become a strong nation, which need not to go back to IMF ever. So it is a moment for us to seize. I hope that Sri Lankans, irrespective of party politics, irrespective of our difference, irrespective of our hate against each other amongst politicians, will seize this opportunity and meet the reality test.
China's Prime Minister Li Qiang has assured Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa China's support to Sri Lanka to facilitate greater stability in economic and social development. Prime Minister Li Qiang, during a phone conversation with Prime Minister Rajapaksa, has said that China feels for Sri Lanka for the difficulties and challenges and wants to do their utmost to provide health to improve the people's livelihood. The Chinese Prime Minister has assured Prime Minister Rajapaksa that China will work with Sri Lankan government to address some of the urgent financial issues that Sri Lanka is currently facing. Among the other areas discussed were the possibilities of fast-tracking negotiations on the free trade agreement, reducing Sri Lanka's trade deficit with China and attracting more Chinese tourists to Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Rajapaksa thanked the Chinese government for the recently announced humanitarian aid and the continued support and cooperation. Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara says that the assistance of security authorities and Railway Department will be obtained for streamlined distribution of fuel.
Now, he mentioned this while on an inspection tour of the Kolonnawa oil storage complex yesterday. An operations center will be established to restore the fuel distribution process and for speedy distribution of fuel. The assistance of the Army, Air Force, Police, the Railway Department and other stakeholders will be obtained in this regard. Distribution of fuel was disrupted during the recent past due to public gatherings and roadblocks. Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara said that fuel distribution will be streamlined and restored within the next few days. Workers who were transporting fuel left their place of work after being assaulted. Trains and fuel tanks that transport fuel have been restored and nearly 600 fuel tanks were transported by 5 trains yesterday. Another 40,000 metric tons of diesel reached Sri Lanka under the Indian credit line recently. Sri Lanka has received nearly 4,000 metric tons of fuel within 2 months under the Indian assistance. Our reporters say that long lines of queues have ended after receiving fuel stocks in many areas including Kalutara, Panadura and Wadua. This was the situation near fuel stations in Kalutara area this morning. Fuel was issued without any congestion today from the filling stations in the Vaunia district. Now, Minister Channa Jayasumana says that solutions will be found for the medicinal drugs shortage within 90 days.
He mentioned this during a media briefing today held at the Health Ministry. Minister Channa Jayasumana said that the shortage has been created due to the delay in opening letter of credit to purchase medicine from December last year due to the shortage of foreign currency. However, during the last few days, letters of credit were issued for 186 medicinal drugs valuing $19.2 million. Letters of credit have been opened for 12 varieties of drugs to the value of 175,000 euros and for 73 drugs at a cost of 3.7 billion rupees. There has been a delay of 100 days as the letters of credit were opened on 3rd of April, which should have been opened on the 3rd week of April. It is only after opening letters of credit, foreign manufacturers begin sending their products to Sri Lanka. Several methods have been used to manage the next 90 days. Arrangements have been made to get urgent donations by speaking to various organizations. The World Health Organization has informed they would take steps to provide medicinal drugs expeditiously. Several foreign countries have said they would donate some medicine. Requests have been made to the Red Cross, Red Crescent and other organizations. Sri Lankans in other countries are taking measures to provide medicinal drugs to the country.
Meanwhile, a discussion on providing a fuel subsidy to the fisheries community took place at the Ministry of Fisheries yesterday. Now, it has been decided to submit a cabinet paper related to the subsidy. The objective is to provide relief to the fishermen who are facing difficulties due to the price increase of fuel. Minister Douglas Devananda, State Minister D.V. Chanaka and a group of ministry officials attended the discussion. It is expected to introduce measures to provide the fuel subsidy for multi-day trawlers and other boats. Although price of kerosene was not increased, a fuel subsidy is scheduled to be given to small boats as well. The minister instructed officials to introduce a pricing formula in this regard. He pointed out that the fishermen will be able to purchase fuel according to the subsidy when prices are fluctuating.
Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne was summoned before the Human Rights Commission today to investigate allegations against police in connection with the death of an individual following a shooting at Rambukkana.
Now, the IGP arrived at the commission around 11 a.m. The Human Rights Commission has obtained a statement from the IGP for nearly 3 hours. He is scheduled to be summoned to the commission again. The funeral of Chaminda Lakshan, who died following the shooting, is scheduled to be held tomorrow afternoon. Additional police teams have been deployed for law and order in the area, and the IGP has requested the Defence Secretary to provide armed forces assistance to the police. The police headquarters said additional troops will be deployed in Devale Gamba Ramukkana and Kegol police divisions. To ensure independence of investigations, Senior SP in charge of Kegol division, SP in charge of the Rambukkana area and the Rambukkana OIC have been transferred with immediate effect to the police field force headquarters. The CID is scheduled to report to the courts after future investigations. The police said a peaceful situation prevailed in the area after lifting of curfew yesterday morning. Meanwhile, parliamentarian Dallas Ala Peruma has sent a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
The letter has said it is suitable to give the opportunity for the parliament to overcome present challenges in unity by forming an all-party new government. In a letter addressed to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Ala Peruma said a numerically small cabinet that represents all political parties that represent Parliament must be appointed without delay for a period of no more than 1 year. He has said the prime goal of such an administration must be to face the challenge of laying a permanent foundation for national unity and sovereignty and setting the country's economic and political agenda through broad consensus in a set period of time. Ala Peruma has said history will accord special significance to the sacrifice the Prime Minister and the Cabinet would have to make for such an interim government to become a reality. He has further said that the President should not hesitate to take correct and far-sighted decisions to re-establish the country's economic and political foundation while protecting the people and the democratic state structure amid the crisis.
Now, the Finance Minister Ali Sabri is scheduled to make a statement in Parliament on the 4th about the discussions with the International Monetary Fund. Now, a debate on the statement will be held on that day. Now, views were expressed in Parliament today about the IMF discussions, the present economic crisis, the Easter Sunday attack and the constitutional amendments. Parliamentarian Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said that what is expected is to remove the 20th Amendment and to bring back democratic characteristics of the 19th Amendment and to administer the country with balance of power between the executive and the legislature. The Speaker's support is expected to approve the amendment soon by briefing the government party, the President and the Prime Minister. The amendment is requested by the people.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගරු අගමැතිතුමා දැනුවත් කරලා මෙම සංශෝධනය ඉතා ඉක්මනට සම්මත කර ගැනීම සඳහා සහයෝගය ලබා ගන්න ඔබතුමාගෙන් මොකද මේ රටේ ජනතාව අද ඉල්ලන සංශෝධනයක් මේක බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන දෙයක් කඳුදා දිනේ අතිගරු ජනාධිපති
Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that on Monday the President made a statement stating his agreement to administer the state with changes that will be made to the Constitution through the Parliament. The Prime Minister made a similar statement in Parliament on Tuesday. It is the government's stance.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පැමිණ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරා. මේක තමයි ආණ්ඩුවේ ස්ථාවරය.
IMF එකත්
The opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that the government's plan to the problems faced by the people and discussions with the IMF should be explained, including the disorderly default faced by the country. It should be explained whether financial and legal advisors have been appointed for the restructuring programs. The government should also explain whether it will hold discussions with the Paris Club countries. The government should also disclose discussions about bilateral debt and multilateral debt.
Paris Club countries සමග සාකච්ඡා කරනවද නැද්ද? අපිට දැනගන්න කැමති bilateral debt, multilateral debt වලට මොනවද ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තිබෙන සාකච්ඡා? දැන් මොකක්ද සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ? debt standstill එකක් තිබෙනවද? අපිට debt haircut එකක් හම් වෙනවද?
න්‍යාය පත්‍රය කටයුතු කරලා
Minister Prasanna Ranthunga said that it is necessary to go according to the agenda and then hold discussions.
මේක විවාදයක් වෙනවා. අපි අද මූලික කටයුතු ටික අවසන් කරමු. මම රජයෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරා මාර්ග සිටියම ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න කියලා. මෙහෙම යන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඔබතුමා අන්දවන්න පුළුවන්ද? මට සභාව නතර කරන්න. ජනාධිපතිවරණය පළවෙනි වතාවට කියන්නේ ජනාධිපතිවරණය වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් මම සභාව නවත්තනවා. ඔබ
මේ බණේ කියනවා. මේක න්‍යාය පත්‍රය කරලා කතා කරන්න කියන්න. මේ කරන්නේ මීඩියා වලට මාධ්‍යවලට කතා කරන්නේ. ඉතින් වෙනම මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡා කරලා කරන්න කියන්න.
සභාවේ කටයුතු පටන් ගන්න.
නායකතුමනි, one moment.
ඔබතුමාට අවස්ථාව තියෙනවා මේ රැස්වීම අවසන් වෙලා කතා කරමු. න්‍යාය පත්‍රය අවසන්
නායකතුමනි, ගරු කතානායකතුමනි,
දැන් ආයිත් නැවතත් සභාවේ ගෞරවය රකින්න සූදානම් නැතිනම් මට සිද්ධ වෙනවා සභාව නවත්තලා යන්න.
The Speaker adjourned the debate for a few minutes and left the chamber due to the obstructions of the opposition. Minister Dinesh Gurubandara said that steps will be taken about the constitutional amendment, the roadmap and other programs when the finance minister returns. Everyone should support to maintain the country without violence amid democratic protests. Now, Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that he is prepared to brief the Cardinal and other clergy if there is any problem or disbelief in connection with the Easter Sunday attack.
The minister requested opposition members in Parliament today not to present wrong information about the attack, covering behind parliamentary privileges. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that some members made various statements using the statements of the Archbishop and other clergy. He said that certain members said the conspiracy took place from Malaysia. Statements were made stating that it was done from India after getting money, which is a serious statement. He requested the Member of Parliament to submit the details if he is aware about it. It is not used to speak indirectly, and interventions should be made with honest intentions. When the statements are made linking intelligent officials, they and their family members may have to pay with their lives. Our intelligence units collapsed due to various incidents. The minister requested not to do it again and registered his protest. The protest in front of the Presidential Secretariat in Goldface Green continued for the 14th day today.
Now, people from various areas of the country have joined the protest. The protesters engage in the protest shouting slogans. Various groups have gathered in front of the Presidential Secretariat from this morning. Several civil and professional associations joined the protest today.
Protests have been organized yesterday and today in several areas of the country. Fishermen who were protesting for 4 days by blocking Colombo-Kataragama main road near Tangal, Kudavella Junction dispersed from the place yesterday following a discussion with State Minister D.V. Chanaka. The fishermen protested demanding for their problems, including the increase of fuel prices, and the State Minister has assured to provide speedy solutions to their problems. Another protest took place blocking Putlam-Colombo main road. People in the area protested against it, removed the protesters, and traffic movement was restored. A group of youth in Anuradhapura town has commenced collecting 1 million signatures based on several demands to sunder the present situation. A protest was organized yesterday in Horana. The group commenced the protest at Horana, Wataramala area and walked up to the main bus stand and engaged in the protest. More stories on the other side of this break.
Free வெளிநாட்டிலிருந்து அனுப்பும் பணத்தினை மக்கள் வங்கிக்கு அனுப்பினால் பரிசு குவியல்கள். பீப்பிள்ஸ் ரெமிட்டன்ஸ் கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம். அனுப்புங்கள் வெல்லுங்கள்.
Welcome back, and now in more local stories, Tourism Development Authority says that Sri Lanka will lose $2.3 million if the tourism industry is collapsed due to protests.
Now, Director General of the authority, Dhammika Vijayasinghe, said that a loss of $11 million had been incurred due to the cancellation of 35% of hotel reservations by foreign tourists. Therefore, she requested the public to refrain from obstructing foreign tourists and government workers who earn foreign exchange to the country.
Sri Lanka depends on their foreign exchange in three main industries. That is the immigrant workers, the garment industry and tourism industry. From 2020, we have been impacted by the global COVID pandemic. However, with our work with the health ministry, we were able to build an image that we are a safe country to visit. So we received the safe travel stamp from the World Tourism Council, and we have been doing rather well. After the health guidelines relaxed in September 2021, we were receiving quite a good number of tourists. However, we are sorry to note that with the scarcity of fuel and gas and then the recent calamities, our arrivals have now dropped down. We had an average arrival of 3,800 arrivals per day in March. However, it has come down to 2,300 by 20th of April. So that would be a loss of about $80 million US. I have to say that it is very important for us to keep our forex earning industries going. That is the garment industry and tourism industry. So we have to treat our garment industry workforce and the tourism industry workforce as well as the tourists as VIPs on the road, maybe not the other way around. So I appeal to our general public, please do not engage in any violence against tourists. Treat them well. We are famous for our hospitality, so treat our tourists well and treat our garment industry workers well. Please let them earn the most needed dollars at this crisis time. We need dollars for our next shipment of fuel, our next shipment of gas and medicine. So help keep this industry going. And I'm sorry to note that we had this ADB annual conference scheduled in Sri Lanka. This was cancelled, and it alone marked a 1 billion rupee loss to the country. And if we continue with this, that will cause further loss to the forex earning of the country.
Now, one person has died after a cab collided with the Yal Devi train from Jaffna to Colombo.
Police said reckless driving has led to the accident. The accident occurred this morning at Jaffna Mirasaville in Kodikkamam Police Division. 3 members of the same family have travelled in the cab. A 12-year-old child has died at the place of the accident. The father and elder brother of the child have been admitted to Jaffna Hospital with serious injuries. They are undergoing treatment at the intensive care unit of the hospital. The Met Department says increase of rains is expected today and tomorrow.
Now, the Met Department said showers or thunder showers could occur in the afternoon or night. A rainfall of 50 to 70 millimeters is expected in central Sabaragamuwa, Uva, north, north central, northwestern, western and southern provinces. The Met Department says rains or thunder showers could occur in sea areas of Hambantota coast from Puttalam to Colombo. Temporary strong winds could occur along with thunder showers in those sea areas, and the sea areas will be rough. Water retention areas of Mausa-Calais and Kasari reservoirs are receiving heavy showers from this afternoon. Our reporter said heavy rainfalls have occurred in the water retention areas of Hatton, Norwood and Bhagawantalawa.
Local and foreign tourists who are arriving in Nuwara can join various programs of Sundara Nuwara Salalihini Vasantaya. National Television is the media sponsor of the event.
සුන්දර නුවරඑළිය සැලලිහිණි වසන්තය 2022.
Today was allocated for small children. Mini Muthukakula concert with the participation of many preschool children took place throughout the day at Nuwara Municipal Council Hall. Mayor of Nuwara and officials attended the event. Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is the media sponsor, while Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation has also joined hands. Foreign news on the other side of this break.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to you.
பயப்படாதம்மா அப்பப்பா பூஸ்டர் போட்டிருக்கேன் நீங்கள் பூஸ்டர் தடுப்பூசியை பெற்றுக்கொண்டு உங்களையும் குடும்பத்தினரையும் பாதுகாத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள்.
Welcome back, and now in foreign news tonight, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has thanked the United States for the new package of $800 million in military aid. The latest military aid announced by President Joe Biden includes heavy artillery, ammunition and drones for the escalating battle in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine.
Russian President Putin claims victory in the battle for Mariupol despite an estimated 2,000 Ukrainian fighters still holed up at a giant steel mill as fighting continues on the 58th day of the conflict. Meanwhile, the mayor of Mariupol has made a new appeal for the full evacuation of the southern Ukrainian city, which President Vladimir Putin says is now controlled by Russian forces. The mayor said that about 100,000 people remain in Mariupol. Now in more stories, former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson has repeatedly punched a passenger on a plane about to fly out of San Francisco after reportedly becoming irritated by the man's attempts to talk to him.
Cell phone footage showed Tyson leaning over the back of his seat and delivering a flurry of blows to the man, who appeared to be left with bruises and some bleeding in the incident on Wednesday. Iron Mike was initially friendly to the passenger and his friend when they boarded the flight, but reacted after the man wouldn't stop provoking him. The man kept trying to talk to the 55-year-old fighter, media also reported.
Welcome back now in your sports stories for tonight, taking a look at the Indian Premier League. We were able to witness a nail-biter of a match yesterday between Chennai Super Kings and the Mumbai Indians, which eventually saw the Chennai Super Kings beating Mumbai Indians by 3 wickets. The match was held at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Mumbai. Well, that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News Bulletin here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. And this is Dishan Virakon together with Kasuni Balachandra signing off for tonight.
Good night.